Kyrie said, I study, I learned the dictionary. It's just like, bro, it's just the way he talks. It's like you've mastered you've mastered your pursuit of knowledge. Cool, but you got to understand that you haven't mastered the art form of communication, the MCing.
Right.
And I haven't either. Like I'm attempting to do. I got a
It's a
mic on me.
process.
Yeah, like it's not. It's magical. That's
Mhm.
what we made an art form out of that. That's what hip hop is. It just
Right.
happened to land on the lap of the guy holding the mic. That's the guy that controls the crowd. We made that a sport.
Right.
That shit is magical when somebody does it. Cause you know it because we all get entrenched, we all get mysticized by it. Like, oh, this nah, he's that dude. And like you said, we got these stands, the Kanye stands, the Jay-Z stands. Kanye was not the greatest rapper, but
Mhm.
you be damned. I'll be damned if you tell me he's not one of the greatest MCs, the way he can control
Right.
the crowd. And he tapped
Right.
into that. And similar to Kyrie, I think that's always saying, yo, Kyrie, we love you, bro. You're an earner at the end of the day. If this is a
Mhm.
war of economics and of the oppressed, at the end of the day, your role right now is to earn and to keep that. That's why I'm so glad he said that. Keep that platform on a nightly basis. Whenever you want on Twitter, you keep that NBA logo in the background while you're saying these things. Sit down with another Jewish guy and break all that stuff down. Now they can't
Right.
say nothing because you're saying I'm learning. They cannot use it against you because you're gonna flip their whole thing on them. And
Mhm.
man, it's still a lot to him, like you said. There's always gonna be something to him. And I don't think I want to definitely move on the fact that Kai's doing what he got to do, right? He answered the questions to these things, and it seems like he's lower on the totem pole when they bring up Jeff Bezos and they say, "Well, it's on the Amazon Prime." That movie that he promoted is on the Amazon Prime app. So why isn't
Right.
Jeff Bezos feeling anything? Similar to how Joe Tsai, not only is he getting no criticism for the apparent Muslim genocide that he financed in China, or whatever. I don't know. I don't hear him
That's not
talking about him. It's not
the
true.
Uyghurs. It,
Uyghurs,
the the Uyghurs. Like again, the Chinese government is a communist government. They
right?
have 100%. They're a totalitarian government. There's no choices. Uh, Joe Tsai's CEO, because he's the CFO or is he CEO? One of the two.
Of
He's
Alibaba,
lower of Alibaba. He's not the main dude.
right?
China put the main dude, Jack Ma,
Check,
in prison.
right.
They locked him.
He's been missing, right? Right.
Right. They locked him up, and then Joe Tsai had to step in and be the interim CEO for a while because it's just that real in China. China's not here where it's like, oh, will he get arrested? Won't he get arrested? No, you're getting arrested. And it doesn't matter if you're of the biggest company in the country, you could get it too.
Right.
And that's the thing is like when people make these things up and then they run with it and they get repeated. Yes, China has a horrible stance on the Uyghurs, right? But if you said that to China, they would flip it with whataboutism because they can't justify it. But they would ask us about what they do to Black and Latino people right now.
Right. Right.
You know,
But so I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was based on just obviously the Chinese relationship. The Uyghurs, if I'm pronouncing it right, 'cause that's another thing. We just talk about Jewish people like there aren't a bunch of sectors of Jewish people, a bunch of sectors of Islamic people. So the Uyghurs
right,
are in China. I thought he had something to do with his money being tied to it because it's all like it's all political over there. It's a bunch of billionaires that are in Congress in China. Same thing over here. They're all backed by billionaires.
it's
But I
greed.
don't
Greed is the ultimate battery in your back. Greed motivates people to do all kinds of things. However, in this particular thing, it's they're communists. They're anti. There is no religion in communism, right? So if your people are considering itself separate because of their religion, there's no place. And don't get me wrong, I'm not justifying it. That's the last thing I want to do. I'm just saying, not only is it a different thing because it's a different place, and where we're standing, we look at it differently, but they could say the same thing to things we're doing to people right now. What they're doing to Haiti right now. You know, we haven't had a president in 2 years. They assassinated our president in cold blood, and there's links to CIA. There's links to FBI informants. There's all of this funny business going on, and we still can't. we're still 2 years from when our election should have happened, and we should have gotten a new president. They, come on, and I'm not saying one wrong makes the other thing right. It just depends on where you're sitting from, and that's an excuse to go after Tsai and even foment more bad feelings. And I'm not participating in that.
No, I totally get that, but my point was gonna be Kyrie had to deal with this thing last night and the last 2 weeks or last week or so because he's front and center. Joe Tsai is not front and center, so the players have to be held are way more held accountable and given credit for winning and losing. And Joe Tsai, and I have a big thing about general managers and owners not having their feet held to the fire. And Joe Tsai and Sean Marks have avoided a lot of criticism, more so Joe Tsai.
Fair. I don't know what Joe Tsai could do other than put out the statement. He didn't waste time. It didn't take a week. It didn't take a month. It didn't. You know what I mean? It took way longer for and Jim Dolan is at the glass standard. But when everything was happening with George Floyd, they had to force him to say something, and he was the one person that opted out of any kind of recognition to it. Joe Tsai has been quick with the KD situation. Boom, he puts out a statement. With the Kyrie situation, he was the first to put out a situation before anyone could put anything on him. He was the first to put out a statement. Now that doesn't absolve him from anything. That doesn't make anything right. That isn't right. I'm just saying. I feel like there's this movement in the media to make it more. Like I heard Nick Friedel say, this is the biggest debacle in sports history.
No,
What are you talking about?
no.
Keith Hernandez got kicked out of the St. Louis Cardinals for sniffing coke because he was on coke. He comes to the Mets. They had 2 teenage prospects. Both of them get on coke. And I watch Keith Hernandez do baseball games all the fucking time.
Yeah.
That Mets team should have won multiple rings.
Easily. I'm a Mets fan.
Okay.
I'm a Mets. I don't remember I'm a Mets fan because of that era, but I did not want to blame Joe Tsai for this. This is not. I'm saying that Kyrie clearly is not listening to him because Joe Tsai knows how to move.
Right,
He's a man of
nobody in Boston. Kyrie didn't listen to LeBron, and like as soon as they won that ring, it just was about right. In Pat Riley's book, I cannot remember what it says. See, this is what happens when you smoke too much weed. But in Pat Riley's book, he talked about the ego and how after winning a championship, that's your biggest battle.
Right.
It's to get guys who've already reached the pinnacle to do all of the work and sacrifice necessary to go back. And believe it or not, as for as much love and support I give them, I did a podcast with Evan Roberts from WFAN. Right before, because I had already known that KD and Kyrie was coming. So I went on the radio, I said what I was told, and Evan was like, "But you're not happy." And I was like, "Why are you not happy?" I was like, "It's hard to motivate someone that has $200 million in the bank, basically fuck you money, to care about building something from the ground up, and making the sacrifice and making the commitment necessary to start it from scratch and win it all." That's a hard thing to do with human beings that have fame, that have money, and that also has the goal that they came in the league. Every player comes into the league to one day be a champion. Well, some just come for the money.